Okay. All right. Now, as I was saying, I was talking about research design. I was stating that we all need to design our research before we can dive into the research to start or even to start at all. And that will save us, that will be economical. It means it's going to save us money. And secondly, it's also going to save us time. And as they all say, that time is money. So we are going to be in research design. It gives us a clue on what type of data to collect, how we are going to measure it, and which statistical tool we are going to use to measure it. So, and that is how it relates to applied data analysis. Because if you look at it in all the aspect of research, of research, both reporting, the methodology and co, we are really not talking about that. We are talking about how data analysis come in our research, and that's the basic. That's basically why we're here. And as I've said, that data analysis come in from data collection, and it starts from research design. Now, on our next slide, we are going to further explain what research design is by stating that is a plan that specifies the source and type of information. And don't forget that information simply means a data. It simply means data, actually. And data that are relevant to the research problem. And don't forget that we also need to have a research problem before we can search for solution. And when you have a problem, definitely when you want to collate data that has to do with that problem, it must be data that is that has to do with that problem. And most of the time, problems are always reflected in the research topic or your project topic. It's a strategy to specify which approach to be used in gathering and analyzing this data. We said that before. You know, sometimes it's not you don't get any data the same way. There are some data you get by questionnaire. There's some data where you have to go to the field and collect sample, real life. For example, now we have if you want to check for people's perspective or people's opinion about a certain topic, you can get that via just sending out questionnaire, giving phone calls, sending email, and getting information. That's the type of data. But when in a situation whereby you want to get maybe the blood pressure of people, of a study population, the Paxel volume of study population, the genotype of study population, all those, there are different ways. It's going to be quite different. You can't get that through questionnaire. You have to be on the field to collect that yourself. So basically, research design specify the approach in which you get your data. It also includes time and cost budget, since most studies are done under two constraints. Yes, it's basically what this is trying to say is that your research must be economical. You don't waste resources because you are doing research. If there are ways you need to cut, you shouldn't cut corners, so to say, but you need to what, be economical. You have to have this economic consciousness when you are carrying out your research. Now, the feature of research is that a clear statement of research problem must be stated. It must have a clear statement of research problem. Like I said earlier, and most of the time, you can see the reflection of the problem in your topic. Then procedure and technique to be used for gathering data or information must also be stated. It must have procedure techniques to be used for gathering your data. You can see that everything I'm saying, as far as research design is concerned, is data, 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 and that's where it concerns us. Then the population to be studied. You need to know your population to be studied. In most cases, or in some cases, the study population might be reflected in the topic as well, and also in the research problem. the method to be used in processing your data. And that is why we are also here. The method and way we can analyze our data. That is why we are here. Another thing again that we're going to be checking on our next slide is the phases of research design. We have 6 phases of research design. The first thing is you have to specify your topic. Like I've said earlier, you have to specify the problem of the topic of the study. You need to specify it. Secondly, you have to frame your research design that we are going to be discussing. You need to frame your research design. You can't just go into it. You have to start and design and plan how you are going to carry out the research. Secondly, is that when you've planned, you have to test your plan, whether your plan is right, whether it's going to function, whether it's going to work later. And that is what is called pilot study. You need to perform a pilot study and check whether it's going to be effective. Secondly, is that after it has been effective, if it has not been effective, you have to change your approach. You have to change your design. And if it is effective, you have to go on to collect the real data since it has been effective. It's just like doing business. You need to do your pilot study first. You can't just go into a business that you don't know nothing about. So you need to do your pilot study first. And if you see that, okay, this business will thrive in this environment, then you now go on to invest more in the business. That's how research is too. So then this time, collecting of the data, this time you are investing into the research big time. Then after you've collected your data, you need to analyze your data. I can tell you everything about research is data, data, data. And that is why it is very important to know research data analysis for you to become a very good researcher. And for the undergraduates, most of the time when an external supervisor comes in, the first thing he checks is your abstract. The second thing he checks is your chapter 4. Most of the time, they check your chapter 4. And if your chapter 4 is faulty, they won't even disturb themselves checking the chapter 5, because if the chapter 4 is faulty, definitely the chapter 5 is all wrong. And don't forget that if you do not design your research very well, you can't get your chapter 4 right. So basically, research or your thesis lies on the research design. Now, lastly, on the phases of research designing is the report, and that is when your reports will now come in. Now, writing your background of study, literature review, your methodology, then your reporting of the chapter in your chapter 4. That's reporting the data analysis, and finally discussing what your data has reflected. Now, in the next slide, we are going to be talking about briefly. I won't talk much about it because that's not the main reason why we are here. We're going to be talking on the types of design, research design. The first, we have the qualitative and the quantitative. For the qualitative research design, it uses ordinal, discrete-like observation to determine relationship between data. Now, I'm going to be talking about what are ordinal. For you to understand this, you need to know what an ordinal data is, and you need to know what a discrete data is. An ordinal data is a data that are not countable. They are data that are used to express the degree of a factor. So for example, we have tall, we have taller, and we have tallest. We have fat, we have fat, and something like that. Okay, somebody's asking me to maximize the slide. Anyway, we are going to, I don't know. Okay, this is what he's trying to say. All right. Now, so this involves the use of measurable, coming. Okay, now, still on qualitative, what are we saying? Somebody is trying to communicate something, I don't know. Okay, I think we are good to go. I think that's how to maximize. So, in research, we have ordinal data that are measurable in order of scale. For example, if you see some questionnaire that we state that uh, you you agree, you disagree, and you totally, that is an ordinal scale. It is categorized and it is in levels, is in grades, is in degree. That is ordinal. Like tall, someone is taller, another one is tallest. The one is fat, the other one is fatter, and the other one in that scale. Unlike male and female they are equal. There is no bigger, there is no lower, but they are also categorized. So in qualitative research, they use ordinal and discrete life observation to determine relationship between collected data. Now, for example, can check whether the relationship between the height, and don't forget that we can segment height as tall, taller, and tallest. The correlation between height and, for example, blood group. Does height has to do with blood group? That's how this qualitative research design will come in. So if you are looking for that as your research problem, definitely you are going to be looking into a qualitative research design. Now, and you can also get this qualitative data in form of in-depth interview. You can get it through interview. You can get it through a focus group. A focus group is when you sit around a group and you get data. You can do direct observation from people, and you can use it as an open-end survey. Now, without wasting much of our time, we should go into the next. What's wrong? Now, on the quantitative, this is measurable from the word quantity. This involves the use of measurable and countable like data. Measurable and countable like data to test your hypothesis and draw conclusion. In this case, unlike that one that you have to use a data that is not countable. For example, you can measure height. You can measure height, yes, but you can't measure something like female and male. It's not measurable. You can only count the amount of male or the amount of female, but you cannot measure it. So that is countable, that is measurable and countable like data to test hypothesis. And these include descriptive design for cross-sectional study, inferential or comparative design. Inferential or comparative design simply means you are checking whether the distribution of a factor, I repeat myself again, the distribution of a factor between two or more groups are the same, or it's just happening by chance. Whether they are happening by chance, or maybe it is not, it's happening by the fact that it is associated with the two groups. For example, I always like using case study and example because it makes it easier for you to comprehend. For example, if we are looking at the present COVID-19 now, if you want to look at the association, we have two groups now. We have male and female as our two group. Then we want to check whether the distribution of COVID-19 in male is the same thing with the distribution of COVID-19 in female. So with statistics, you can really know that, okay, female, I think male have more, according to the present study right now, is that it is more in male than in female. But the reason we cannot explain, but statistically we can state it that it is more in male than in female. So that is comparing, you are really comparing between two groups. Now, an experimental design also can also be a case control, just like I've said, but in this case it's maybe two group of rats, for example, two group of laboratory animal, for example. You gave one maybe a drug and you did not give the other one a drug. The other one, they are healthy rats, while the second one, you give those rats drugs. So the healthy rats is the control, Why those you gave drug at the test or case study. So you now find the differences between the two. Maybe it's their PCV you want to use to find the differences. You now want to check the effect of the drug on PCV of laboratory animal. So you find two animal, one will be the case, the other will be the one will be the control, the other will be the case. The control, you won't give the control anything, and you give the case maybe the drug. You now collect the PCV of both animal, and you now use statistics to check whether there is difference. Is it that both of them are the same after everything, or maybe one is reducing and the other one is normal? So we are going to count the control as normal, those that you didn't give any drug. So that's how it goes in case control. And likewise in analytical design. But we won't waste much of our time on research design, because if we say we should go into it, we go on and on and on. But we are going to know how to analyze data when they are analytical, and how to identify them when analytical as the time goes on in this study. Now, types of data. Now, this is what I've been trying to explain to us, the types of data. Now, we have basically two types of data. We have qualitative data from the word quality, and we have quantitative data from the name to quantify, which is numeric. Now, qualitative data are categorical data. It simply means when you categorize something. For example, we categorize gender as male and female. We categorize children as being a boy or a girl. We categorize height as being tall or short. That's categorical. They are not measurable. You can only count them, but they are not measurable. They cannot have decimal number. You cannot say we have 1.5 boys in this meeting now. We cannot say we have 1.5 female in this meeting. Sorry. We cannot say we have 1.5 female, but we can say that we have solidly rounded figure. We have four male, we have one female. So that's how it goes. And for the numeric, in the numeric, it is any data that has decimal. For example, age. Someone can be 1.5. So please excuse me. Hello. Mo busy, pay me badajo. Mo busy. Sorry for that. You keep on calling, so I have to. So that's for quantitative. You can quantify it. It can have decimal. You can be 4.5 years old. You can be 4.0 years old. So any number, any kind of measurement that can have decimal is called a quantitative or numerical data. Now, the categorical data can be divided into two. It's either it is nominal or ordinal. This is what I was trying to explain, but I don't want to dwell more on that in that aspect because of time. So it's either it is nominal or ordinal. If it is nominal, it doesn't have an order, but it is categorized. For example, we all have male and female in this meeting, but we don't have it in any order. But if it is in any order, we are going to have maybe, let me say, first class student, second class student, third class student. That one is in an order. But something like gender is either a male or female. There's no one is better than the other. That is nominal. But in case of ordinal, one is better than the other, and one has more degree than the other. Then in the case of quantitative, it's either it is discrete or it is continuous. If it is discrete, it is only a particular number. Only a particular number. That's when it is discrete. But in continuous, it's any numeric number, any number. It can be 5.7, it can be 5 point something. But when it is